election to fill the late California Senator Dianne Feinstein's seat is now down to two contenders. Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff will face off against Republican candidate and former baseball player Steve Garvey in November. They were the top two vote getters in yesterday's primary. Here to talk about the race and what's happening on Capitol Hill is Congressman Adam Schiff. Congressman, thanks for making yourself available today. I just want to ask what your message is to voters on the heels of your win against your Democratic opponents last night.
Well, I think what voters responded to in our campaign is they're looking for people that can get things done, that have gotten things done, that have delivered results. They want more affordable housing. They don't want to have to spend hours on the road because they can't afford a place to live anywhere near work. They want more child care that they can afford so they can join the workforce. They're tired of the performative politics, of the empty rhetoric, of the, who can make the best viral video. They want people to deliver. And I think it's, frankly, a message that Democrats around the country should pay attention to. Our win was so resounding that I think the message of delivering results, not just rhetoric, is a powerful one.
What's your message to the more progressive wing of your party? Because you were able to effectively, some of the criticism is, box out your Democratic opponents and Representatives Katie Porter and Barbara Lee, partly by spending tens of millions of dollars, not just in support of your campaign, but making your opponent, your Republican opponent, more visible on the California stage. And now with California, presumably with you and Garvey going toe-to-toe, it won't have a female representative in Congress for the first time since 1992. So what is your message to women and your more progressive supporters who may feel excluded by that strategy?
Well, look, I'm very proud of the campaign we ran and the fact that we got more Democratic support than my two Democratic colleagues put together. I think what people are responding to, including progressives, is they want someone who will deliver. My voting record is every bit as progressive as my colleagues. Where we differed is the ability to take on the really big fights to protect our democracy. You had one candidate who was in the middle of that fight and others that weren't. But also, and probably more importantly, I have a long record of delivering everything from mass transit to millions for housing to an early earthquake warning system. I wrote California's Patient Bill of Rights. Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike, they want someone who will deliver. And it's just not enough to make good videos. You have to make good legislation and you have to improve the quality of people's lives. And this is what people responded to. Now, I'm going to be a representative for all Californians. I'm going to make sure that if I'm successful in November, in every appointment I get to make, in my own staffing, if I have an opportunity to weigh in on judicial confirmations, that those appointments, those positions reflect the diversity of this great state. They reflect its diversity in every way. And so that's how I've been in the House of Representatives. It's how I will serve in the Senate if I'm fortunate enough to win the general election. And that's certainly my commitment.
We know that during your victory speech last night, there was an interruption from protesters who are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. They're critical of the U.S. Response or support of Israel in that conflict. What is your response to those criticizing the U.S.'s role in what's happening between Israel and Hamas?
Well, first of all, I'm glad I live in a country where protest and dissent is allowed. And I want to make sure that our democracy continues, particularly when we have a Republican presidential candidate promising to be a dictator on day one. But look, in terms of the Middle East, I want two states living side by side in peace. I want the West Bank and Gaza to be controlled by a reformed Palestinian Authority, not run by a terrorist organization. And I want to make sure that we get the hostages released. I want to make sure that we get aid into the people of Gaza, that we do reduce civilian casualties there. These are my priorities. I have always been championing a two-state solution, and we need to somehow get the Middle East back on a path where that becomes viable once again.
Now, you've certainly painted yourself during this campaign as the protector of democracy. You mentioned just a moment ago you hope democracy prevails. You, as viewers will well know, ran the first impeachment inquiry into former President Trump. You were part of the January 6 hearings as well. In the meantime, we've watched Donald Trump continue to hold on to the Republican Party, massive national support, and he's marching towards the nomination. I'm wondering what that tells you about the American appetite for a Donald Trump-style presidency in the face of what you investigated and tried to expose.
I think voters this fall are going to reject Donald Trump. They're going to reject his ugly brand of xenophobic populism. They're going to choose a good and decent and wise and productive and capable president like Joe Biden. The contrast is going to be very sharp in the fall. And yes, it is astonishing that someone who has been indicted on 91 felony counts, who's been impeached twice, who's been an adjudicated a sexual offender and sexual abuser, should be the leading candidate for president in one of America's great political parties. I look forward to the day when the Republican Party returns to being a party of a conservative ideology. And I think it will once we defeat Donald Trump again, as we will and as we must in November.
Well, based on what you just laid out, is that evidence of Donald Trump's strengths or Democrats' weakness?
I think it's a reflection, frankly, of the weakness in the Republican Party, the weakness in leadership, the weakness of the Mitch McConnells, of the Kevin McCarthys, and others who have enabled him. They could have stood up to him. They still can, but haven't. McCarthy's gone now, and good riddance. But nevertheless, what made Donald Trump possible, what makes him possible still, is the willing enablement of Republicans who know what a danger he is to the country, but go along with it because they're so hungry for power, nothing else matters. My takeaway after 2 impeachments, an insurrection, and those 91 felony counts is you could have the best written constitution in the world, and I believe we do, and you can have the best written laws meant to constrain the worst impulses of human nature, and maybe we do. And none of it will be enough if people don't give meaning to their oath of office. And if that oath isn't informed by ideas of right and wrong, or people are unwilling to accept the truth, then none of it is enough. So I think this is a weakness in the Republican Party, a shallow and hollowness. I look forward to the days when it goes back to being a party of Reagan or a party of John McCain, and less this cult of personality.
And what's fascinating for those of us outside of Congress and Capitol Hill is that despite those differences, Democrats and Republicans still have to have enough overlap and agreement to pass spending bills, specifically this week, in order to prevent a partial government shutdown. How hopeful are you that this will happen in what is a very split and divided House?
I'm hopeful that this will happen. I think there's enough common ground to avoid another shutdown. But it should not be the bar that we've set so low that the most government can be expected to do is keep the lights on. There are so many things that we need to do to move the country forward. And we have to find that common ground. When I was chairing the Intel Committee, even though I had Devin Nunes as my ranking member, and we fought over Trump and his abuse of power, nonetheless, we got our work done each and every year. We got our intelligence authorization bills passed. We made sure we kept the country safe, that we protected the privacy and civil liberties. That kind of bipartisan work has to continue. We have to be able to compartmentalize our differences. If and when I get to the Senate, knock on wood, I will fight to the tooth to defend our democracy. But I'm also going to look for every opportunity to get things done and deliver for California.
Well, all of us are watching closely, and I just want to make our viewers aware we did reach out to the Steve Garvey campaign for an interview, but we have not yet heard back. Consider this an open invitation to Mr. Garvey. Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.